Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel, and this is your tip of the week. If you're making a quilt or a pot holder or a placemat or anything in which you put binding to cover your raw edges, you can use scrap pieces of fabric to create that binding, and I call it Scrappy patch binding. Now, it doesn't matter if all your pieces of fabric are the same length. Sometimes this makes it more interesting if they are different lengths. So sometimes I will make scrappy patch binding with just the ends of each piece of fabric straight and then stitch them together. I know that that's not the way some people do it. They like to do it with a diagonal edge. But when you're doing the scrappy binding, it really looks nice if you have this diagonal edge when you're making it. Now this is a 4-inch square ruler, and on this 4-inch square ruler there's a line that goes through the center and going the other way through the center on the other two corners. All of your quilting rulers, at least the ones I have bought, have this 45-degree angle on it. So look at your rulers. You'll see a 45, a 30 degree, a 60 degree. So I want you to focus on the 45-degree angle. And to get these corners like this, you put that line on the bottom edge of your fabric. And let's pretend I'm going to take just a little off of this. So where the tape is the bottom edge of the fabric. And then you would go ahead and cut it. The thing you have to be careful of is that this end needs to be going in the same direction. So you just slide your ruler over to this end, line it up wherever you want to cut it, make sure that bottom or that 45-degree line is on the bottom of your fabrics. So to connect these two pieces of fabric, you need to bring front sides together, and you want to keep the edges right here together. So you pull it across like this. You want those edges together. Now as you're lining it up, you need to make sure that there's a little corner out here exposed, about 1/4 of an inch. And then over at this end, you need a little corner sticking out. I call them tails. That's really important. If it's not set up like this, then it's not going to work out. It's also important that you pin your edges. And where you're going to stitch is where the two pieces connect or cross each other, right here where they cross. And you stitch straight down to where they cross right here. Here is two pieces that are already connected, so they've been stitched across here. I then press the seam and then unfold it. And if you lined everything up correctly, it's going to be straight on each side. Now you're also going to have little tails of fabric sticking out, and those you would cut off. Let me show you what it'll look like if you don't have it lined up correctly. So here's some that I have stitched together, and I didn't have them lined up right. And so the edges, when I unfolded the fabric, are uneven. So when you go across here, you've got all this jagged edges, which means that your top edge will also be jagged. So when you're done stitching all your pieces together, you want to press your seams on the back side. So take them here, place them down, and press with your iron. Then turn it over on top, lift the strip up, and push against the seams, getting them to go all in one direction. Now if you want, you could open these seams up and press them open. I don't like to do that because it takes a lot of time. So you have an option. You can press it open or just leave them all going in one direction. And make sure that you cut those little tails off. Then when you're done, you just fold it in half and press it the full length. So you can see that these diagonal lines, as you flip it over, it continues going in that same direction. Now, when you're collecting all your fabrics, you want to make sure that you have them all stacked, either all front side sticking up or all back side sticking up. Either way, they must all be going in the same direction. I like to stack about 4 pieces together. I wouldn't stack any more than that because then your edges might become distorted. Now, as I was cutting mine, there were some pieces that were not flipped in the right direction. So when I cut them, you can see they're going opposite of each other. And if you try to bring these front sides together and stitch them, it's going to go like this. It'll be a mitered corner. So like I said, you can use this for your binding, and I have done this on quilts and even pot holders. Another way of using this type of fabric being cut and stitched together is use it as borders on a quilt or on a table runner. It's really, really pretty. And again, you can cut them any width you want. I had cut, for the binding, I had cut mine 2.5 inches wide. And again, I had a variety of lengths. Some were 6 inches, some were 9 inches. They were all different. So if you want, you could cut them all the same length or different lengths. It's real important to have the right tools when you're going to cut fabric of any size, any length. And if you're getting started in sewing and quilting, people ask me often, what ruler should I buy? Well, there's a variety of brands out there that make acrylic rulers for rotary cutters. This is a rotary cutter. I like using the rotary cutter and the rulers that are made to go along with it. If you don't have one, I recommend you either buy the 6-inch wide one, or excuse me, 6.5-inch wide, or the 8.5-inch wide. They're both 24 inches long. I like the 8.5-inch wide because it's easier to control. If you want to get into quilting, whether you're going to be cutting a lot of squares, I recommend you buy a 12.5-inch square ruler. You'll get much, much better results. If you try to just draw lines and cut with a pair of scissors, you're probably not going to be happy with your results. As you get more into sewing, then you could get a 6-inch square ruler. In quilting, there's a lot of 6.5-inch blocks that are used in making a quilt. Not all. Now, for that little Scrappy patch binding, this little 4-inch ruler was really helpful when I wanted to cut the ends. Down here on the bottom of the ruler, you're going to see all of those lines that I mentioned. So you're going to see the 45-degree line, 30, 60, and so forth. So next time you pick up your acrylic ruler, take a look down there and look to see where that 45-degree line is. If you're going to use a rotary cutter, you need to have a rotary cutting mat. Otherwise, if you try to cut on cardboard or your dining table, you're going to have quite a mess. You're not going to be happy what happened to your table. So these are designed to where your rotary cutter will not go through it. Now, this isn't a real small one. I call it kind of a medium small. I have since moved on to a much bigger cutting mat. Mine is 38 inches by 70 inches. I got it on Amazon.com and it's made by Sullivan. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tip of the week and you learned something new. Now go through your scraps, make some of this scrappy patch binding, put it on a pot holder to start to see if you like doing it. I bet you're just going to love how it looks. Now if you're interested in other tips of the week, I have a lot of them. I have over 100. I'm going to have a playlist listed below of all my tips of the week. So you scroll down to the description section, click on the words show more, and it will expand open and you will see all of those links. Now I talk about a variety of subjects regarding sewing, from hemming a shirt to stitching a seam of all types, everything about clothing, making quilts, tote bags, all types of little goodies. And by the way, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and make sure you go and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.